What are some interesting or fun Christmas traditions you follow? Every Christmas the kids in the house have wrapping paper put over the entrances to their rooms so they get to rip through it in the morning. It originally started as a way to keep a certain kid in when he kept coming out early and opening presents before everyone was awake. My husband's family did this too, except they would wrap the doorway to the living room and everyone would have to wake up, get dressed, and have a big sit down breakfast before they could bust through the wrapping paper barrier and get to the presents. I cannot imagine how you could get 4 kids to be that patient, but somehow his mother managed it. That's pretty genius and sounds like a great family moment. Going to be saving this one for later use. My family has a tradition of leaving riddles on cards and guessing what the gift is before opening. We go around one by one, reading our hint out loud so everyone can guess, then open it and show the room. Ends up taking like 5 hours for everyone to get through their gifts, but it's always a fun time. This sounds really cool. It is. Everyone brings their own style to it. My mom always writes some sort of poem or haiku. The grandparents word it like Jeopardy questions. My uncle packs it in some really weird box, so you have no clue what it is, etc. Every year my wife and I buy an ornament for our tree that corresponds with something that happened that year. So we have a tree filled with all of these weird wacky ornaments like a tennis ball. We started playing tennis that year. Swedish chef, Europe trip, ship captain nutcracker, our first cruise, amongst many others. It's such a fun tradition in December to debate what we to get and then finding something and then reliving them all when we put them up. I'm assuming this year's ornament is a roll of toilet paper. We debated that or a mask, but decided we didn't want to remember that from this year. So instead we got a hiking shoe, since that had been pretty much our only activity this year. My brother and I stay at my mother's house on Christmas Eve with our families every year. We still sit at the top of the stairs on Christmas morning until my mother tells us we can come down to the living room to see what Santa left us. We are both in our 30s and our wives and kids now sit on the stairs as well. It's getting pretty crowded, but I wouldn't have it any other way. My mom always made us wait at the top of the stairs so she could make sure Santa was really gone. Also, every year she'd say, well, the dogs sure were barking at something around to this morning. Each year we cut a round off the bottom of our Christmas tree. We label it with the year. Over time it makes a sweet display, a reminder of years past. My wife and I started doing this after we got married. We also got a wood burning tool to engrave the year and an image to represent something significant from the year, then turn them into ornaments. For instance, when we traveled a lot one year we did a compass. I wonder what you're engraving this year. Just set the thing on fire. 2020. Wife and I order from the same Chinese restaurant every Christmas Eve. We eat from there almost exclusively on Christmas Eve. We don't do much Chinese through the year regularly. Started one Christmas Eve when we were both feeling lazy and hasn't stopped. 12 plus years now. Are a traditional Jewish Christmas. Sorts, I'm Jewish. I learned this when Alina Kagan was doing her hearing to be confirmed to the Supreme Court. They asked her what she did on Christmas, and she said, like all Jews I was probably at a Chinese restaurant. She blew the lid wide open on the ultimate Jewish conspiracy of all. We invented Christmas. We wrote the songs. We built the ad campaigns. We even made Jesus, just so we could get the Chinese restaurants to ourselves. My grandpa would always get up on the roof about an hour after our bedtime and stomp around on the roof with sleigh bells. That's some wholesome dedication. Seriously. He was the best grandpa. We have signs all over our house spelling out Lian instead of Noel. It started out as a joke because my dad is dyslexic, but it stuck, and we even named our dog Lian, and we've been doing it since I can remember. I always changed my mother-in-law's Noel candles to say Elno. She would ask me if I did it, and it'd say Elno. She found me amusing, and I miss her. I love that last sentence. Thanks for sharing a little detail about her. Hope you and yours have a happy Elno. Every year my family buys each other member a gag/joke/small gift, then writes a poem about it. for the recipient to read on Christmas Eve. It's probably the highlight of the entire season for me, as it's always filled with laughter at how terrible we all are at poetry, no matter how old we all get. This is a really fun way to bring everyone back to that root joy of spending time together. This year it will be virtual, but still fun. Sounds like some Dutch Sinterklaas tradition got to you. The poem with the present is very common then. On the 5th of December. My uncle always hosts Christmas at his house, since family comes from all over, and he has beds for everyone to stay over. On his property is about an 150-foot diameter pond. Every Christmas morning we wake up and build a giant bonfire to get ready for the impending shock we will feel later on around noon. We also try to get a decent drunk blanket going for those that are of our family's required drinking age, just in case. Come noon on Christmas Day, we do the polar plunge to rid ourselves of last year's crap and look forward to next year. We huddle around this bonfire while my grandpa passes around shots to help warm up because that pond is ducking freezing. Edit, told my uncle about how a lot of you seem interested in this, and he said if you guys, don't have plans next year or are alone, feel free to come. He only asks to bring a tent/sleeping bag and a treat for their German shepherds of our family's required drinking age. The way you worded that makes me wonder what that age is. I guess it's lower than the legal drinking age. Correct. If you can get drafted you should be able to have a beer. Every year for the last 8 years my sister and I gift each other a weird thing that makes the other one laugh. It started with when our house almost got repossessed just before Christmas and everything was so terrible that we just wanted to make each other laugh. Highlights include 12 packs of frozen potato smiley faces to resolve a long forgotten childhood argument, 3 chocolate tubes filled with teeny rubber ducks instead of chocolate, a lucky dip which involved hiding small gifts in socks, and this year a bag of potatoes with Nicolas Cage's face blue tacked on every individual potato. My brother and I had a VHS tape of Elmo Saves Christmas that we gave each other for Christmas for a decade. I'm stealing your Nicolas Cage idea. Leaving whiskey and mince pie for Santa and a carrot for Rudolph. Reading the night before Christmas all tucked up in bed. Having a chocolate selection box for breakfast on Christmas morning. I'm 29 and still keep these up. Can't wait to pass them down. Each year for Christmas, instead of writing our real names on the presents, my parents would take a random theme and assign my siblings and I a name based on said theme. For example, this year's theme is liquor and the names are Scotch, whiskey, and gin, and we have to guess who is what name. Whoever guesses correctly gets a little homemade Christmas themed trophy called the Christmas Smartest Award that they can keep until next Christmas. We stopped putting names on the presents 2 years ago. It's color coded so no one knows which presents are this. Shake up present. Shake present. Ask yes or no questions. You figure it out before Christmas. You open it. I like this. I'm guessing at least at some point someone wrapped something super fragile for the joke, right? NORAD tracks Santa. Edit, the Google Santa tracker is also really fun. My family also does this. And even though most of us don't believe in Santa anymore, it's still exiting for some reason. Agreed. We started this when the kids were little, they're 21 and 19 now, but it's still fun to check out where Santa is. Can't get them to scurry off to bed when Santa heads for the US East Coast anymore, but it was great for a number of years. A tradition we had when I was a child, and one I'll be continuing with my children when I have them, is the Christmas Eve box. For Christmas Eve, we were given one gift early, and it was a box with Christmas pajamas, a mug, hot chocolate mix, popcorn, and a Christmas movie. We would get to open it around lunchtime, and we'd spend the rest of the evening in our new jammies, having cocoa and movies together. Edited to say, please don't steal Christian's pajamas. He needs those. That's a great idea. Oh my gosh, I love this. When we were younger, my parents had a tradition with us. We would always go out into the front yard with my dad to find the perfect pine cone. Maybe a week or 2 before Christmas, we planted the pine cone in a pot and watered it. Then overnight, it would become this magnificent, huge, to my young eyes, and fully decorated Christmas tree. It only worked in December and we were always told it was the Christmas magic. Then my sister and I figured it out when we found pine needles in my parents' car. Haha. I was sent out to find pine needles in the back park a day or two before Christmas. They were allegedly for reindeer snacks, and they had to fill this big wicker basket that was normally full of magazines. Turned out, years later, that it was to get me out of the house while my mom transferred wrapped presents from the neighbor's garage into our house. As I always tried to find and open any gifts that I snooped on before Christmas Day. Lol. You had to do manual labor because you were such an impatient little shit. You played yourself and you didn't even know it. This is hilarious. The tradition in our house was whatever you got for Christmas, you had to wear to the pub at lunchtime on Christmas Day. I've been to the pub in PJs. 4 pairs of socks, running vest and shorts, etc. Lol. This one is my favorite. I'm sure you purposefully gift each other some ridiculous clothes because of this. What's the craziest thing you've gotten someone else to wear? My husband and I celebrate Bookmas on December 26th. We get all of the book money people sent us for Christmas and buy a giant stack of books. Then we go home, change into our PJs, and spend the day reading books, drinking hot chocolate, and eating some of the snacks people gave us for Christmas. Isn't this a Swedish or Norwegian tradition? I read about that earlier this year and I love it. I don't know about Sweden or Norway, but there's definitely a similar Icelandic tradition. Jólabókaflóð. Basically Christmas book flood. I guess it goes back to WWII, and paper was one of the few things not rationed. Coolest Christmas tradition for those with bookworm families, though. A buffet for 10. For 2. So my wife and I spend the days leading up to Christmas Eve going around and buying a selection of the poshest party food from the likes of M&S, Booths, Waitrose. On Christmas Eve we will bathe the kids, 10 and 5, play board games with them, watch movies etc. It's bed for 9 PM and 10 PM for them both. The oven then goes on. 30 to 40 minutes later we have enough food to feed at least 10. But it's just for the 2 of us, and we always do pretty well, and are stuffed by 11:30 PM. A few glasses of wine or G&Ts keep the merriment going. We arrange the gifts at around 1 AM and it's off to bed. Excited ourselves. We usually end up discussing what food was our favorite and my wife makes a note to buy again the following year. Apart from seeing the kids' faces on Christmas morning, this is by far my favorite part of Christmas. I hope everyone has a good one this year and is able to fill their bellies and enjoy the company of those you love. I love that you guys have a special time dedicated just to the 2 of you. Something a little different I suppose. We always have lasagna Christmas Eve, day before Christmas Eve. We also open our presents Christmas Eve instead of Christmas Day. But on Christmas Day we would always go to our grandparents' house to open presents with them. Every year everyone in my immediate family buys each other a Christmas tree ornamented. Now our tree is covered with good memories that actually have meaning. Aha, my twist on this is to hold an ugly ornament party where everyone brings the most ridiculous / oddest ornament they could find. Purchased, no kids artwork allowed. After judging, everyone gets to take one home. I probably have enough now that they could have their own small tree. My family has been doing this the last couple years, but I moved out of state a few years ago, so I wasn't included. Last year I mailed my mom my entry for the exchange and then FaceTimed during the party and my mom mailed me the ornament I got, and it's easily my favorite. I can't tell if it's an ostrich or a flamingo because it's a tall bird, almost in the shape of a flamingo with black feathers, and it has sparkles on the neck. Not a family tradition, as much as it's something that I just decided everyone has to do a few years ago. Everyone makes plates for someone else in the family. No one is allowed to get food and drinks for themselves. It reminds my kids that even little gestures show appreciation for those around you, and to not be selfish when it comes to making others feel loved. Great way to teach. Santa puts the stockings on everyone's bed. This way, the kids can play with the stuff in the stockings and the adults get more sleep. My family had a rule that we could open the stockings up as soon as we woke up. but had to wait until 8 to wake up the parents. In our stocking there was always a Christmas movie VHS and a puzzle that was at least a couple hundred pieces. My Santa was a freaking genius. Props for distracting me, lad. We had an old friend who was perfect for playing the Santa. The kids and I loved his antics and dance. He unfortunately passed away a year ago after being in a terrible accident. We give him a tribute by talking to his parents on Christmas. Us friends drinking together and dancing for his favorite songs with his signature steps. Although we can't meet up this year, we've set up a Zoom call and ordered Christmas caps and fake beards online. We are pretty sure that idiot is still rocking the costume somewhere far away from us. We miss him every Christmas. Every year we leave Santa a beer. He needs it. Santa also prefers Tekkit. We design and build our own gingerbread houses out of homemade gingerbread, and they've gotten progressively more advanced. Last year I made Notre Dame Cathedral with candy cane buttresses. This year I made Avengers Tower. Hey PSSST, please subscribe and like.